Ba ba da ba ba da ba da.
Put it in the books, in the history books.
Waiting is Jones. The Mets are the world champions.
In there, strike three called. He got him with a slider.
LFGM. Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Dan McQuillan, we got a guest to intro here. You want to do the honors?
Yeah. This is my college roommate, Dan Labriola, aka Dr. Lab. This man has a lot of baseball pedigree. Worked at the University of Ohio with the baseball team.
Whoa. Ohio University.
Okay. Ohio University, the Bobcats. Did some
Cats.
work there. Now working at George Mason University. He's going to give us the goods on the farm system, the draft class, all those young bucks. So we're excited to have him on the show.
Glad to have you. And you
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Dan fitted you out with the lab coat and everything.
Dude, I'm treated well here.
Hopefully a recurring guest, and then we can start getting we were talking before, we get the little embroidered name and everything.
Oh yeah.
So as we all know, the storied tradition, I say storied in episode 4, is we started off with what are we drinking tonight? So Danny Mac, what do you got?
I've got the 2021 Summer Limited Edition Coors Light. I'm going to try and hold it there. So I'm going to pop that open.
Oh, that was a good sound.
Right? Jake, what are you drinking, man?
So I have something that I can't pronounce, and that's why I got it. Let's show it. It looks backwards on mine, but it's called Weihenstephaner.
I think it's pronounced Worcestershire sauce.
Wooster. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but it's German, so I figure they probably know what they're doing. So we'll see what we got
Dr.
here.
Lab, what do you have?
Good old finishing up Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Just an
Dr.
iced
Lab.
coffee.
Dr. Lab runs on Dunkin'.
He does. You're not wrong.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
All right.
You know that.
Boys, I'm going to ease this in with a little bit of trivia. I found this one on the Twitter sphere. So if you would kindly write your answers on paper, I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to answer this. If you know it, you know it. But whoever can name the most guys wins the round, okay? So there are four Mets who have led the National League in home runs. Name those Mets. Got 4 of them.
I'm stumping, but I think
Wow, there we go. I picked a good one, huh?
I'll throw a fourth guess in just for
Yeah, I'm
shits.
trying to think of a fourth right now, but I think I'm gonna have to stick with 3.
Damn, where'd you guess? Come on. Gotta wage a guess.
Yeah, I just threw a
right, I'll
guess
try.
I know is probably wrong.
Oh man. Going through like the decades, like I don't know.
There you are.
It's gonna be my last one.
All right.
So, we'll see.
For the record, when I was testing this out on our boy Max, who hasn't been on the show in 2 weeks now.
Who?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Is that his name? Or all right. He got 3.
Wow.
So if you guys would kindly show me your name cards, it may not be visible, so we might have to read them off. Yeah, definitely not visible. All right. So Jake, we've got Alonso, Kingman, Delgado, and Piazza. Lab, what do we got?
I'm mad I didn't think of Pete, which is so stupid.
Okay. So you,
How did I not think of Dare?
Jake got this one. It's a 2-1 victory here. 2-1 victory. So the final answer is Straw, Pete, Kingman, and Hojo.
I should have got strawberry. When I saw you had strawberry, I was like, oh my god.
See, if you had a team effort here, you would have been just fine.
I don't know. I mean, I remembered that, like, I think it was the year before the Mets got Piazza that Hundley hit like 41 homers.
Yeah, that was a good guess.
Yeah, I was going there, and I'm mad I didn't think of Pete. It's not like it was that long ago. Gosh.
Well, not that long ago in baseball years, but in how time has passed since then, it's been very long.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I like that question though.
I really thought I had something here when I wrote Delgado, because I'm like, he was a big power hitter. I'm like, oh yeah, like he's got it. But no. All right, so I guess should we count that as a win for me and a loss for Max?
Well, if we're being technical, Max got 3, but he wasn't on the show, so
right.
Somehow.
Max gets negative points. Honestly, as the judge of this, I would say he gets -2.
Wait, so who were the 3 that Max got? I'm curious.
You got Straw, Pete, and Kingman.
Okay.
And he said Beltran as his other guess.
That was a good guess
I was
too.
thinking, yeah.
Hojo, I could have sat here for an hour. I don't think I ever would have.
I wouldn't have picked Hojo. No way.
No.
All right, so it's been a bit. We skipped a week in the recording, I believe. So we got some games to go over. I just want to start because last time we ended off, I said I was taking a little hush half day from work and catching the doubleheader versus the Phillies. So I just want to start it off with that one from what I can remember, because there was a lot of these involved, not specifically these because I've never heard of this until an hour ago, but the ones at the stadium. It was fun. I mean, we got a little walk-off victory, but then of course to go home, we got a loss at the end of the night. But I will say my shout out to my friend Kevin, who got me I don't know where he is, the cardboard cutout. He got us seats in the Delta Club, so we were sitting pretty. Got there was a lot of celebrities in attendance. We had Memphis Grizzlies player Kyle Anderson was in our row, a couple seats over. I will say, and granted, I'm 5'8" saying this, but he doesn't look as tall in person as I would have expected. Like I kind of assumed his knees would be like up, like squeezed into the thing, and I was like, you look like kind of like a normal guy.
Slow-mo.
Yeah, slow-mo. Yeah. But it was fun. I just gotta say I love the 7-inning doubleheaders. Like I don't know, I'm fine with that staying. That's probably the only thing that I'm fine with staying out of all the other things. But I'm going a little bit off topic because we got some more games to talk about. We could talk about some of the rules later. But Dan, you want to give us a little lowdown on not the current Braves series, but the one prior to the Phillies?
Me, Dan, right? This is the tricky thing.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna call you Dan, and I'm gonna call other Dan Lab.
Nice and easy. Okay.
There we go.
Well, I mean, so for the Philly series, I had a very generous buddy, goes by the name of Jake Brenner.
That's right.
Me and Max tickets to a Jacob deGrom game.
Wow.
Beautiful day. Like, couldn't have asked for better weather. deGrom on the bump. Like, life was good. Dude, I'll tell you what. Like it was a weekend series, so I guess the Phillies fans came out. There was like all around us, like Phillies fans like chirping, and like there was this one chick who just like wouldn't shut her mouth. There was another guy who was like, I probably would have said something to me and Max, but really tall, like, and being 5'8" didn't help. So didn't, kind of zipped it. But you know, he was saying all these things like, oh, like DeGrom sucks, like all-star my ass, like, and I'm like, he gave up like 2 runs, like, and that's like his like bad start, right? And then obviously like the poetic justice of how we won that game with like the Phillies bullpen imploding. It was perfect. It was like the perfect day, honestly.
I'll be honest. I'll chime in a little bit here. That first of all, that Philly series, the Mets definitely got a good bit. I won't say lucky because you still have to win the games, but between the Phillies defense, and not that the Mets defense was much better that series, but between the Phillies defense and their bullpen, they were kind of gifted 2 wins. They could have easily gotten swept, and I'm not trying to be all too negative, but I mean, we've been hearing about the run totals that the Mets have been putting up, and aside from what I don't know, maybe the other night or the previous Atlanta series where they put up 7 runs, that you know they're not scoring much, but they were opportunistic, and that's what matters. And that Phillies bullpen is just yikes again after his being historically bad last year.
You're absolutely right, but I just gotta say, like, it feels so good to be on the other side of that now, because I feel like for so many years it was like toward the end of the year it'd be like, oh my god, like we could count it up, it'd be like we could have 15 more wins if we didn't blow all these games, like. So it's so nice to see that the other teams in our division are suffering from that. Dan, you have something to add too?
Yeah, no, I was just like Jake said, it's so good to be on the other side of that, because how many times have we like not had like the shoe drop in our direction? I mean, just in general, like the bullpens across baseball have just been like really really ugly. Like the games get really ugly in like the 6th inning or later. This is just like a trend that I've been noticing. But like again, I thought like, you know, with the exception of Lindor in that 9th inning against Neris, like the approach was like really solid. You know, even like Conforto, like just focusing on getting that ball into center field and deep enough to score. Like, you know, again, like every win counts the same. And the good thing is, like, while we're struggling, hopefully we kind of can chip away. Like, I did want to bring this up too. Like the month of June has been like a death sentence for the Mets the past few years. And the fact that like we escaped 4-4 out of that like homestand, and we were like 14-13 in the month of June, I think we have to be okay with that, right? Like, I don't remember what year, maybe it was like 2018. I think it was Mickey's first year. We just had like one of the Junes that was like, it was brutal. Like they won like 10 games, maybe, if that.
That was that year that we got off to the scorching hot start, right? And then by this time that year, we were already out of it. I gotta say, like, I know, like, generally speaking, the dog days of baseball don't really come until a little bit later, maybe after the All-Star break at some point. But this last stretch has sort of felt like that for us, and like you said, we've sort of slid through it, and you know, didn't completely collapse. So I'll take that for how we've been.
You have to. I mean, you're still talking about a team that is missing Noah Syndergaard, who it doesn't look like is going to come back this year, and that's probably the right thing to do unless he comes up in September. Carlos Carrasco's still out. David Peterson will probably be out for a while, or I'm not sure about a while, but he'll probably, I would say, at least miss a start with one, how he pitched, but also it looked like a lat injury. I don't know if there were any updates on that, and then you're talking about for majority of the month, you're without Brandon Nimmo, Jay Davis. You're without a lot of your core players. Michael Conforto was out for a while. That, you know, you kind of looked at the lineup every day, and it was kind of, if you weren't paying attention, you didn't know who a lot of the players were. You didn't know where the Mets, you know, if Billy McKinney was called up and the Mets drafted him, or if they traded for him, which they did from the Brewers. But it was, to come out of that month over 500. That's impressive. I think it says a lot about the players that they have too, and the players that they signed over the winter and traded for. So definitely.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, like the last the most recent games against the Braves, I feel so bad for Thomas Sapucki. Like,
I was gonna say that.
You could just tell, like, he was so nervous. Like, they were talking about it on TV. Like, they're showing him like biting his nails in the bullpen. He comes out and he's throwing all wild. But I don't know. I just had to mention that. Like, I feel so terrible for him, and I don't take into account anything that he did that night as far as like a scouting report on him. Like, it's just, go get him, kid.
No, it's so funny you mentioned that because Dan or Lab and I were texting about this very thing, Sapucki, and I was like, oh, like Sapucki came out, this is exciting, and Dan was like, oh, like, he probably like doubtfully will not pitch in a meaningful situation like right away. And I was like, oh, that's weird, like, considering like the pitching situation we're in right now, like, why wouldn't he? And it's clear why that was the case last night. I didn't watch. Like, Amy was like, I was trying to explain to Amy like this whole thing. Like, I was like, oh, like, I'm like, they're getting smacked, but I'm like, I gotta watch this kid pitch. And she's like, why? They're like losing like so badly. Like, I'm like, you don't get it, but whatever.
I'll be honest though, I did not watch. It was 7-2, and I turned it off because I don't know. It was just I couldn't do it. I saw that, or my dad told me Sapucki was pitching, and I was just like, that's fine. I'm like, did he get an out? And he was like, yeah, he got an out. I was like, okay, well, we'll see what he can do from here on out. But you're talking about a pitcher who hasn't thrown more than 60 innings in a season, like, and he was coming off Tommy John and missing a year or two, I think, and I don't even know if he's pitched above Double-A for any significant amount of time. Like, that's a tough ask.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he has, because obviously, like, last year was a completely lost year for all minor leaguers, which is terrible. But Dan, you want to get us going and let everybody know what day today has as far as meaning?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's like listening to this knows what day July 1st is. We've been suffering through this. This has felt like a really hard day under the Wilpons with Bobby Bonilla Day being the case. Everybody knows the sitch and what's going on. But they do have like a little bit of a different feel to Bobby Bonilla Day under this new ownership. I don't know if you guys saw the whole deal with like the Airbnb. They're offering a room up above the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. I think it's opening on July 8th at 12 p.m. So don't compete with me. I'm going to try and get it. $250 basically to go to a game. You're getting the whole deal. They like decked out this whole like room. There's a few beds. I think it's like 4 friends. Super nice. And I think you get to throw out the first pitch on July 28th. So seems like a good deal. I mean, doubt that my computer won't crash that day trying to get in, but you know what? We're going to give it a shot, and you boys are coming with me if I get it. So
we might have to release this after that happens, just in case anybody's like, oh, I didn't know about that. I'm going to try and get it too.
Yeah,
we'll win this, and then we'll have Bonilla on the show.
We'll be we'll record. Yeah, we'll record from the suite that we get.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we're gonna have a nice Amazing Against Slumby. Max won't be invited. We'll invite Bobby Bonilla. We'll see if he wants to crash. Like, yeah.
He could be the new Max.
He has some like poker money, we could play like a little bit of poker with Bobby Bonilla. Like, I'm sure he has money to blow. But,
yeah, he at least owes us a round of drinks. Like, he can't act like he doesn't have it. Like, we know exactly how much you just got paid last week. But yeah, I agree though, Dan. Like it definitely feels a lot better now under the new ownership. Like it doesn't mean as much, and also it wasn't their doing. But I wonder if they can get a couple extra payments off and maybe cut the timeline down a little bit.
Dude, you know what I was I mean, it's a separate thing. This is more about the Airbnb than Bobby Bonilla. I'm just so over talking about Bobby Bonilla Day, but like I guess it's the Rogers Center up in Toronto. They have that hotel that overlooks the field.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered from like a baseball like a business perspective, like is like why not do that? Why don't more teams consider that? Like make it like an all-inclusive thing, charge through the nose for it, and like I'm sure somebody would pay for it, right? There's super fans everywhere, right?
Easily.
Oh yeah.
I could be wrong. I haven't been there, but I was trying to plan a little bit of a baseball road trip right before COVID hit. And I was planning to go to Chicago and hit both the Cubs and the White Sox. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I thought I saw that the Cubs have some sort of Airbnb thing within their stadium or like right on it. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
I don't. I know that there's the apartment building that's across the street from in left field where they like sell tickets to the like to sit on the rooftop and you can watch the game from the rooftop, which I think that's an awesome idea. But I don't know if I'm going to a game, I want to be in the stadium. I don't want to be across the street. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
just me.
This is another random thing. This kind of goes to the experience component of like a stadium. But I was talking to the Phillies fan at the game. You know, we're small talking. He was staying in Newark, so he was wondering if there was anywhere outside of Citi Field that he could go get a drink. And I was like, no.
No,
I'm like, no. And you know what's funny is like because you go to most ballparks around the country and like there's usually at least one bar where there's like a downtown, right? And I thought it was a little bit sad that like we haven't, developed the area more,
Yeah, I mean McFadden's went out, right? They're not there anymore. And I mean the rest of it is basically just like different intersecting highways and roads and weird shit. I mean
it's a bunch of chop shops.
Yeah. I know Yankee Stadium's got a couple bars and places to eat around the corner, but also it's not fair. I don't count it because basically they just like moved over a couple buildings and like squeezed Yankee Stadium in between, so it doesn't really count.
Dude,
I mean,
like we should just do that.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's enough space. Take out some of the parking or do whatever you have to do, but it should happen. But I want to go back to the Bonilla thing real quick, just because I think I sent this to Dan and a couple of our other friends this morning because there was one fan also, I believe a writer, Michael Mayer on Twitter. He follows the Mets very closely. He's a great follow, but he posted, I think in 2020, I think last year, a list of deferred payments from teams, including the Mets. So obviously there's Bonilla, but it's a very common thing to do. I think it's, when people didn't realize it, obviously the Bonilla thing, it was like, wow, he's getting paid over $1 million each year until like 2035. Like that's crazy. But the one that sticks out to me crazily is that one, Ryan Zimmerman for the Nationals, when he retires, he has some sort of a contract with the Nationals where he'll get 5 years and like 15 million starting the day he retires. And also there's deferred payments in Steven Strasburg's contract, and the Nationals are known for doing this. They did this with Scherzer as well. But from 2027 to 2029, which I don't know if Strasburg will be pitching then, but he's getting paid over 26 million each year. Like that, it's not an uncommon thing. I just think at the time it was like no one had really heard that this was a thing, and
all the
so
flag
they were
for
like,
it.
"Oh wow, yeah." The people were just like, it's the Mets. We can just make fun of them a little bit. And it's all in good fun. So, but it's not uncommon.
It's so true though, and from next year forward, we should be turning this from Bobby Bonilla Day into Deferred Contract Awareness Day, because they're out all over the place, and it needs to be known. It's not just Bobby Bonilla.
Absolutely.
Chris Davis with a C on the Orioles has a terrible deferred contract, and he should be getting a little more shit for that.
Guys,
Dan, you got
I hate to
something? Yeah.
pause. Hate to pause, but the cat dragged in something, and like I don't know what to do with it.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
What up?
Oh, whatever.
Oh man.
Whatever.
Oh, the lab coat is here. Man, how was the farm report?
Oh man. First of all, we're not there yet. If you want to listen in,
We're not there
feel
yet.
free.
Oh, okay, wait. I'll pop in here actually.
Okay, yeah, we're about to get right into it actually. So as I was saying before, Dan's got super big pedigree here. He's big into the analytics. Worked at Ohio University. Go Bobcats. So he's gonna give us his little take into the draft. Dan, I wanted to start off asking, like, we were kind of talking before the show a little bit about the Mets draft strategies in the past. Like, we had Sandy, but he was Wilpon Sandy. We had Brody, who did some interesting stuff in the recent drafts. But just wanted to see, like, what you felt the Mets draft strategy would be in 2021 with the Cohen Sandy.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. And kind of like you said, there's nothing wrong with any of the strategies that really any team has. I mean, the one from when Brody was the general manager was extremely interesting because teams will, I don't know if they'll do this often, but the Mets, their strategy was to draft the best players available, even players that were deemed as being unsignable because they were committed strongly to a college or they had a really high signing bonus that they wanted. And what the Mets did was they took those players early on. And so within the first 3 rounds, they would take them. So it started with, they drafted Brett Beatty, who was 19 years old when he was drafted, which is a lot of teams were afraid to draft a high school player who's so old. But then, he was 19. But then it led to them drafting Matthew Allen in the 3rd round, and they paid him, I think, a little over $2 million. But so after the 3rd or 4th round, then the Mets started taking college seniors who had no eligibility left, and they signed them for well below slot. So let's say the recommended slot was about $250,000 or so. They would sign them for $50,000, also that they could save up that money to give the signing bonus to Matthew Allen, or last year it was JT Ginn. They did the same with Isaiah Green, Josh Wolf, both in Cleveland, part of the Lindor deal. But that was kind of their strategy then. And there's a couple other strategies that teams have. There's the simple take the best player available, which is the one that I like. I think regardless of position, which is another reason teams will draft by position, which works better in other sports than baseball, I would say. And there's one, it's to cut a deal, where they kind of do the reverse of what Brody did, where the Orioles did this last year with Heston Kjerstad, where Heston was around like the 5th or 6th best prospect available at the time. And they drafted him 2nd overall because they knew he would take less money. The same thing happened with Carlos Correa all those years back. And then they take the money that they saved and sign a high school player who otherwise would go to college. All of that to say that going into this draft, I don't know what the Mets necessarily have in mind. I think it's obvious that they're in a win now mode, but that doesn't, or at least that didn't preclude them from drafting a high school bat in 2017 or whenever they drafted Jared Kelenic. I know we don't like hearing his name, but that's what they did, and that's what Sandy did. A lot of the names this year are college names, and we'll get into that, I know, in a little bit. But I don't necessarily know what the strategy is. I think it's probably more similar to the best player available.
I feel like out of all the big four sports, the BPA strategy like makes the most sense in baseball, just because like with NFL, NBA, like they're going straight to the league and they're expected to play a big role day one. Whereas in the MLB, like sure, your strength might be corner infielders, but that might not be the case 5 years down the road or 4 years down the road when the guy that you draft would finally be coming up. But the one thing that I wanted to ask, like I always see, I feel like it's so tough to, at least for me, because I don't know that much, but when I see like high schoolers getting rated above different college athletes, and so I guess it's like how do you compare those two types of talents, and what would go into a team's thought process trying to draft a player?
Yeah, it's there's a lot that goes into it. It's a year-round thing. Like once the draft ends this year, that's when the draft for next year starts, and that's when all the scouts go and see different high school showcases or all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. It's becoming a lot more automated, I would say, where a lot of teams have their algorithm that they all set up in their front office or whoever's going to be running the draft, and they have a different combination of things. So there are teams that do that, and there are also teams that are very based on traditional scouting, where they have their scouts go and watch games and they evaluate them. They all sit in a room and they all come up with their boards and who they believe will be available at the time that they pick. But for the algorithms, it's really, really interesting because it can be based on scouting reports that come from their scouts, where there's the 20-80 scale, where 20 being this is not a strength of yours in the slightest, and 80 being this is like the best skill that you have and the best skill that anybody in this class has. So that's why it was such a huge deal that Wander Franco was an 80 grade prospect, because there hadn't been one up until he showed up. So there's scouting reports, there's the regular counting stats like batting average or on base. There's the advanced stats that have become a huge part of the game, which includes like batted ball data or blast motion, which is attaches to a bat, I believe, and you get data coming from that. There's Rapsodo, which I had a little bit of work with at Ohio, which was really great because you can use it for pitchers where you can see their spin rate, you can see their velocity, you can see the type of spin that they have, and also you can use it for hitters and see exit velocity. And they also use different projection systems based on all of that to see, all right, this is the player that we want and who our scouts and our algorithm says this is the player that you have to draft. A lot of it is also age dependent. So that's why I was saying before about Brett Beatty, was that teams were afraid to draft him because he was a 19-year-old high school prospect. A lot of teams in their algorithms, it tells them do not take that player. They're more of a risk of not making the major leagues, as opposed to a prospect who just turned 18 in time for the draft, where they're viewed as being very young. Their skills are still developing, but they have a track record of being very good. That all goes into it. And there's also the combination of signability that we talked about, or if a player is committed to a college. So in Jack Leiter, who's going to be at minimum a top 4 pick this year, nobody drafted him until the Yankees did in one of the extremely late rounds, because everyone knew that he was going to Vanderbilt. So that all goes into it. And Max, do you have something you want to either chime in or say? Or
man, I mean, it's an area of, I guess the sport that I've really tried to pay more attention to over the years, especially, I think Brody's aggressive kind of draft strategy was something that kind of caught my attention. It was a little bit more interesting than the very conservative approach that Sandy and the Wilpons were taking. But I'm fascinated to kind of see the direction the Mets go in this draft, just because we've seen kind of almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, like both extremes here, where like Brody was very aggressive about giving signing bonuses to guys who were probably going to go to college. And then the Wilpons were very, and I say the Wilpons because Sandy just seems like a different GM now. But Sandy was very conservative in kind of his tactics with it. I'm curious to see just kind of what you think the Mets' direction might be in terms of what a player they could be looking at, or not even a specific player, but to me, it looks like their organization needs pitching depth. They're very deprived of that, that pitching depth. So is this like a situation where you intentionally target a pitcher, or do you go with like best player available? Even I've seen mocks where, they're drafting like middle infield, shortstop. And to me, it's like, fine, like you want talent in the system in general, but do you draft a shortstop even though you have guys the likes of like Mauricio, you have Lindor extended long-term, or do you fill up that pitching a little bit more to try to get some depth there? I'm curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? Because teams now, unless there's a slam dunk high school pitcher that they want to take, they are extremely afraid of doing so because there isn't really much of a track record of success. I mean, even if you look at the Mets starting rotation right now, I don't know if any of them have, they all, I believe, went to college. I'm not sure about Taiwan, but I think everybody else may have, and a lot of others did. And teams are, like I said, are extremely, extremely afraid of drafting high school pitchers. That doesn't preclude them from doing so. It really just precludes them from doing so in an early round, like in the first round. They have to be 100% sure. So I have been following the mock drafts as well. There's a great one that came out yesterday on MLB.com. There was one that came out a week or so ago, maybe a little bit, I think a couple weeks ago, on Fangraphs that I thought was really interesting. And all of them have the Mets taking college bats. And I'll get into a little bit. I think it's interesting, right? Like you said, that taking a middle infielder like Matt McLain out of UCLA, someone who was previously drafted in the first round, but decided to go to college and go to UCLA and bulked up and has really shown that he can hit and play the infield. But obviously, if you're looking at the team kind of in the short term right now, which obviously the Mets have to do a little bit because this is about their window to win in and around now. You have, like you said, you have Ronnie Mauricio. You have Francisco Lindor signed for the next 10 years. The immediate thing that you would think of is the Mets view him as being the best player available and that he'll either play third base or second. But then you get into the other thing as well, that Jeff McNeil is playing second base. Third base, you have Mark Vientos right now in Double-A, who's playing unbelievably. So it's all very interesting. When it comes to pitching, I'll get into this now, and then I'll list some of the other players. This is pure speculation on my part, but Kumar Rocker him and Jack Leiter were 1 and 2, and the thought early in the season was, all right, who are the Pirates going to take number 1, and who are the Rangers going to get lucky and get at number 2? That's completely changed. One, because Jack Leiter, it looks, and this was written on Fangraphs, that he is looking to price himself out of being drafted in the top 3 so that he gets drafted number 4 by the Red Sox. And Kumar Rocker keeps falling, that he has not pitched well in SEC play. And teams are a little concerned about that. He didn't pitch all too well last night either. Obviously, it's all small sample size in those games, but playing against better competition, he hasn't necessarily pitched well. But everyone knows that his stuff is really good. He's got a great fastball. He's got a good curveball. Right now, he's going around number 7 in mock drafts to the Kansas City Royals. If he slips and he's available when the Mets draft at 10, it'll be really interesting to see what they do, because you're looking at Kumar, who could potentially be in the major leagues in a year or 2, depending on how he progresses. So that'll be interesting. But for the most part, a lot of the rumblings are either center fielders, which is really interesting because they're all college center fielders or college outfielders, like Sam Frelick from Boston College, who is 5'9", hit 16 home runs this year, which is just really interesting for someone at his size. But he's extremely athletic, extremely fast. Colton Cowser, same thing. One of the best college bats that scouts believe could potentially stay in center field as well. So you're talking about 3 college players that the Mets are linked to, and they were a team that was in to watch Matt McClain from UCLA very heavily a couple of weeks ago. They had a lot of people there. So that's a name to watch. But when it comes to pitching, I really do think that it's and this is the guess from my part is Kumar Rocker. It would be probably the only pitcher unless, and Jack Leiter won't fall that far. I think Kumar would be the one pitcher where the Mets kind of stop and think, but otherwise they're going to go with a college bat.
I don't know many of the college players, but he's a guy that I've known and heard his name for a while, and thinking about a guy who could contribute possibly in the big leagues in a year or two it's enticing as well. It's for sure. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I know you were looking for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's enticing for sure, but teams are looking in the short term and the long term as well, right? So they may have Kumar Rocker in the major leagues in a year or two, but it could be that another player who was available to them will wind up being a better player or a more valuable player over, say, 5 to 10 years than Kumar is in 2 or 3. So it's interesting. Like, obviously the Mets are trying to win right now, but even if they draft a prospect that they really like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stay in the organization. I mean, how many times in recent years did we see the Mets trade a prospect who was just drafted? So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could either be that they play for the Mets their entire career or that they don't even get to step on the field.
I will say that the college outfielders are interesting too, just because we know obviously that Conforto is expiring. So maybe if there's one that they truly fall in love with, then we might not see old Mikey in a Mets uniform anymore. I gotta say, Lab, like, you were really just spitting some game like that. It was really a joy to just listen to you go into depth on all the different types of things teams do to get ready for the draft. So I know I appreciate that a lot. I'm sure the fellows over here did as well.
Listen, I'm not gonna take too much credit here, but it's gotta be the code.
It's all the code.
It gives them a little swagger. Like, comes up in here, is like Dr. Lab. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so, Dan,
Yeah. No,
like,
yeah.
excellent research and all. Like clearly you know your stuff. But you got to give me some credit here on this one.
No, I take none of the credit. None at all. It's all in the code.
It's like, have you guys seen Like Mike?
Oh, make me like Mike.
With Bow Wow,
exactly like Mike.
Yeah, he puts on the coat and he's like, "Make me like Lab."
Lab, I was gonna say,
I appreciate that.
Your hair's looking good too, buddy. I haven't seen you in a
thanks,
while.
man.
Like that little.
I know, man.
The little piece.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, it's cold. I was tired this morning.
Right.
Danny Mac, before we sign off, you got to give the degenerates what they want. Hit them with a nice little bet of the day.
Okay, so if you thought Lab was spitting fire, let me give you my gut check bet of the day. I'm tweeting this out. By the time this podcast comes out, you'll see. This is gonna win you some money, okay? So plus 525, same game parlay, okay? Hit that under 7 runs, okay? How do you guys feel about the under tonight? DeGrom starting?
Come on, DeGrom and the way the Mets offense is going.
Always. DeGrom plus the Mets offense but you know they scored 22 runs last night so I mean
they're tired. That's what that means.
DeGrom, it's not even an issue. Yeah, go ahead.
And listen, Ian Anderson too. This is not just about DeGrom. Ian Anderson has been really solid lately. And this is a lineup that is struggling. So hit that under. Even if you want to do that alone, I think that's a gimme right there. I think this game is going to finish around 4-2, that ballpark. I was tempted to go Mets -1.5 as well, but I think I'm gonna stick to the Mets money line. Straight up, Mets victory tonight. Jake on the bump. And then I hate to do this because I hate Freddie Freeman, but I think he's gonna get a hit tonight. Decent odds. He tends to have he has the good approach against Jake, the shorter swing. He's got a nice swing on the fastball. Not gonna try to do too much with it. Just a good
Also, Freddie Freeman against the Mets is a pretty safe bet.
And him and DeGrom are kind of buddy, so maybe they have a little unspoken agreement. Like, you gotta at least give me one. Yeah.
Friendly bet for the podcast, boys. Gotta.
And listen, guys, that's 525. Like throw $10 down. That'll win you 50 burgers right there. So, tell me which one's not gonna hit. I can't find one.
No, I think you're on point. You mentioned DeGrom in the Mets offense, but like you said, Ian Anderson is also a pretty good pitcher to be matched up with DeGrom for an under. Shout out Ian Anderson, local boy. Shout out Shenandoah, right?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like Shenandoah, Virginia?
No, New York. Shen. Didn't you play them like in like soccer and shit?
I thought you were talking local for me.
No.
No, you haven't been on the show in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well,
you can just come in here and act like.
What, you think it all revolves around you now? We're talking local as in you're local? Come on now.
Jake, shout us out on social and we are good.
Yeah, we got to get out of here and hit the bar for to watch this DeGrom start. But make sure to hit us with a follow. AmazinAgain on all platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Anchor.fm/AmazinAgain, YouTube AmazinAgain, all those spots. Amazing with no G, just amazing. Lab, thank you so much again for coming. And I'm sure that Max is probably going to miss a bunch more podcasts, so we'll probably have you on a lot more.
Man, I'm happy to. If Max wants to bail, I'm here.
Hey, you come even. I don't want to. I want to be here even when you're here. So come join whenever.
Anytime.
Dan, you might have to switch our logo to Photoshop of Lab's head instead of Max's head.
He's on that. He's on that. At that point almost, you know.
He's an 80 grade prospect. All right.
Oh man.
Let's LFGM. Thank you, boys.